Yo, yo, we are live. How are we all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Just getting started up here, just getting things ready, getting things locked in. Hope you're all doing well. Say hello on the chat. Let yourself be known so I know you're here. How are we all doing? Turn my phone speakers off. I'm going to be using my phone for the chat today as, technical issues as always with live streaming. The cough is still here. My brother is still repeatedly sending me music that he wants me to listen to. The life of an A&R never ends. Hey Rich, how you doing, mate? How you doing? Statue, how you doing, mate? Good? We'll get started. I think we'll get straight into it today because we've got a load of music to get through. I've got a little bit of stuff I want to do with my demo strategy gang. There's a couple of records. Well, there's one record in particular from my demo strategy students. It was on my stories yesterday, on my Instagram stories yesterday, where I think he's got a really good idea and I gave him some advice and he's actually done the work and uploaded it. I thought, you know what, it'd be really fun to do straight out the gate to start this, is we'll have a quick listen to where he was yesterday, a quick chat about what I was thinking, and then show what he's done and where I think he's at now. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Can you guys all hear me okay on mic and all the rest of it as well? Do let me know. I'm pretty sure I'm coming through all right. Yesterday. Yeah, coming through. God, I am literally, I've got the stream open on my phone so I can keep tabs a bit more on what's going on. And I'm, in reality, about a minute in front of you guys, which is mental. Excuse me for the cough. Still, we are still fighting it. All right, cool. So this is what we're going to do first. Let's jump over into our screen here. Perfect. Right. So we are on my VIP members room for my demo strategy students. So this is my Discord, but I have a VIP space. For those of you that don't know, I have a VIP space which is linked to my course. I run a course called the Demo Strategy, which is outside of all the other stuff you see me doing. I run my own little thing. It's basically a little side project, a little passion project of mine, where I can just teach exactly what I think. There's no kind of like team kind of directing things like I get elsewhere. It's just me being me 100% of the time, which I really enjoy doing. It's become a real thing that I love doing now. And on this particular course, a part of it is daily feedback. If you're active enough, you'll get feedback that much. You'll get feedback every single day if you're really, really active, right? So that's what I push everyone to do, just really upload as much as possible. Then I come on and give feedback and you know, the rest of the students chip in and we sort of chat amongst each other, because I think it's really important for artists to have a space where they can actually work together and feel like they have a community where they can send stuff and it's like legit and it's not just people trying to chime in and show off and think, oh, I think it should be like this, you know, like an actual group of people you trust and build trust with and begin to know well and can kind of actually, like the thing is like a lot of big artists have that kind of experience. Like there's like writing camps and teams of people, and once you sort of like start putting records out, you're rubbing elbows with other really good producers, and it sort of happens quite naturally. And I found it's one of the best ways to learn there is. It really is the best way to learn, is by being around other artists and learning from what other people think of your music and just growing with that kind of experience. So that's what we do here. Again, apologies for this cough. It's got to be gone soon. Right, now, as I just explained, as you can see, a few of you have come in since I explained it. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump onto my Discord here. And the first thing we're going to do is go to my VIP Discord and go to Work in Progress. I've got one of my students, the Natty Groove, Nat. He is writing stuff that's very akin to what I love. You know, I've worked with him for a little while now, and we've got a very similar taste in music. He's got an incredible, like, knowledge of old music, and yeah, he really knows his stuff. If I scroll up a little bit here, so here's the version that was from yesterday. You can see some of the other guys have been uploading and talking about this record since, yeah. What we've got, where has he gone? Here he is. So I want to open this one up, right? And so first of all, what I want to do is have a listen to this. So this is where it was at yesterday. Then we're gonna have a quick listen or a quick chat about what I think about it from where it was, and then we're gonna go in and have a good look at what he's done. And I think he's nailed it. It's just a few little things I want to talk about, but I just want to show you guys that experience of why I think doing these A&Rs, these live streams are so important, and the way in which I really do think it helps artists and myself. Like, I'm not above this, by the way. Like I always say at the start of these, this is not about me being like, oh, I'm the A&R god, everyone must listen to what I say. This is honestly not that. I'm just setting the platform up. I actually want this to be a space where we can all talk to each other. Like, there's going to be weeks where I want to show you music I'm working on, be like we did the other week, right? I'm like, someone give me some feedback. Like, you're all artists, you're all DJs, like, your opinions matter to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, you're like other music producers, is their opinions really matter to me. So, and other people can see stuff and hear stuff that I'll miss because I'm so lost in the process of making a record that I can very, very easily miss something obvious, right? Just like the rest of us. So that's what this whole thing is really, really about. Right, so just let me know on chat. I'm just seeing everyone roll in. Rich, Dan, Rob, how you doing, man? Yeah, I've got everyone's stuff on the Discord. You're all good. You're all good. Neil, nice to see you again, dude. Hope you're doing well, man. Let's hit play. Let me know on chat that you can hear me on mic nice and clearly, and that you can hear this on stream. It's all coming through on the meters fine, so we should be okay. Right, I'm gonna hit play, and I'll needle drop through a little bit because I'm just that kind of guy. I won't just leave it play from beginning to end. I will just sort of jump through because there's very specific moments in this record, which is what I think we want to focus on. Okay.
A greater reality. Yes. But there's something else going on. Lord, I don't have time to finish this.
Right, then it's going to go into a breakdown now, and a build up and set the scene, which we will listen to on the new version. What we've just heard is where I think there was some stuff that could really help this record, right? So the sample's great, right? The whole thing we're going to go into with the preacher and the organ and it's all great. We get a smaller version of that here. Now, for me, like objectively, because I'm not the music producer, so I can just look at it and go like, oh, I like that bit, I don't like that bit. You know, it's really easy, isn't it, when you're not the person making the record. When we kick in here and we switch, and I'll show you this again, we switch to this stab organ, for me, the whole record comes to life. Like, even just like... that, for me, is way more hooky. All this stuff before is cool, but it's a bit like sloshy, and the record's trying to be this sort of like preachery kind of like gospel breakdown, and I think that needs to then get back into something a bit more jacking. The kick's really jacking, drums are really jacking, but all the organ stuff that was there, and like, if I show you the difference, like the with the crowd and everything, I just think that's a bit like as if it's trying to set something up, like it's sort of building to somewhere, but it dropped to that. And there were some delays from the build-up over into that as well. So it all sort of sloshes a bit too much. Like it's all a bit too, like it's floaty, kind of like, where are we going? Where I think actually a record like this needs to be really demanding in its groove. Like it needs to be really kind of like, oh yeah, like, you know, it needs to lock you in. And it does at this moment. The other part of this record that really jumped out to me where I was like, oh, this is really, really good, this particular little bit, is right here as we go into the breakdown. Let me show it just before, because it's where you feel the bass line go into the bass line hook, where it's wicked. That little section for me is the one. I love that. That for me, that's the selling point of the record. That should be used a lot more as the as like, you know, in between groove sections. It shouldn't just be at the beginning of a breakdown to set the breakdown up. Like that for me feels like we're going to go back to the groove. That really jumped out to me as just a fresh pair of ears. And then there were some other thoughts about the breakdown and stuff with the build up, which are just small things like the bass line stops.
From getting the best of me. You got the...
Incidentally, I love the way he brings the bass line in there. Like no effects, no like really silly over the top like reverse cymbals with delay on them. It just goes back to that groove just with him like with the organ. I really like that.
Shut the voice down in your mind. And listen to the voice. Speaking to your spirit. Oh, yeah.
The way the bass drops out now, he's thought like, oh, it sounds really good with the bass just coming in. I'll just take it out and that's going to be the last little build-up bit. But actually now it's too stop-starty. It sort of doesn't know where it's going and then it's just going to sort of kick in. That doesn't feel quite right. But that, for me, it's, you know, so easy to fix that stuff and he has fixed it. For me, it was all about understanding what the record should have in it and what and where it should be. So my advice was, I'd love to hear a version at least, even if I'm wrong, right? It's not about me going, I definitely do this, it'll be better. I want to hear a version where this, with the stab organ, is the main, this is the main hook. This should be here, and it should be on the drop, okay? That is the record. The organy floaty bit might have its place, intro-y, before a breakdown, or like bridge or something, but it's definitely not the drop 2 bit at all for me. But I really want to hear this element, this kind of cool bit like that set up the breakdown. I want to hear that in the middle here. I think these sort of records can bounce around a little bit. You know, you don't have to have this format of like 16 bars, snare, then another 16 bars, then a 32 bar breakdown. You know, like with this sort of music, you can get a little bit more like 16 bars, little 8 bar breakdown, 16 bars, little weird 4 bar bit, drop just kick bass, then go breakdown. It can get a bit more kind of all over the shop because of all the sampling and stuff, you know, all these like crazy bits and pieces you can use in the organs and the preacher. There's all this like potential just to sort of take the crowd in different directions as long as you get that flow just right. And I think that would actually lean into the kind of jacking nature of the kind of bass line and the loopiness of all of it and the kick being really tough and the drums. I think it really needs to have a little bit more of that like sort of throwing you off your sort of feet a little bit on the dance floor, but in a way that kind of felt right. I think it needs a bit more of that kind of pajazz, which a lot of this sort of stuff has, right? A lot of this sort of stuff has a lot more kind of like, yeah, just it's a bit jumps around a lot more. So over back onto Discord then, you can see here, and also you can actually see on here my comments. Look, I'm sort of saying, oh, maybe this, and this is typically what I do for the guys. I'll listen through and I'll give them all comments, and then also we'll come in and give an actual breakdown. So here's an actual breakdown of what I thought, what I think about each section, and where it could be changed and updated, and why I thought that isn't quite right, and then an actual breakdown of how it could run down, like, you know, first break, drop to 16, drop to that 16 bars before, run down the arrangement, and then everyone's sort of chiming in and listening and helping out as well. And then the new version. So let's listen to this in context. Now, the only thing with this is the mix down on this one isn't as good. I don't think it's the mix down. I think it's almost like he's forgotten to put the master plugin on. I might be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong, but it does, the tops aren't, they don't jump out as much. And typically when you're listening to stuff, especially on a live stream, if the tops and vocals and stuff don't sort of push forwards from, like, you know, like if you're using literally just using like any AI mastering stuff nowadays, it will kind of do that stuff for you. And if that's not there, it feels two-dimensional in comparison, but we know firsthand that it's probably just a plugin that's not on the master chain when he exported this. So yeah, just throwing it out there.
But there's something else going on. Lord, I don't have time to finish this.
Okay, so that is basically that same section, but we've got that organ stab bit in the main part. So I think the flow of that works a lot better. It feels more impactful. I feel like I know what the record is trying to do. There's a couple of things again now, so it's like, it's not like, okay, brilliant, mate, like let's export and master it. It's like I've still got loads of thoughts about, there's still some question marks. So I question mark the crowd on the drop. The reason is as that crowd fades down, it means this 8-bar section feels a bit lost. Again, it might be the mix and master. Maybe if we had that all jack, and we're not here to talk about mixing at all, but it's, you know, let's put it to a side thing. But if that was maybe like kind of locked in a little bit better and it was a bit bright and it was pushing out the speakers a little bit more, you might get away with it getting a bit more stripped down. But in its current format, it does feel like the crowd on the drop might be almost too much. Like maybe that should be filtered back a little bit and just left bubbling around in the background a little more. I really like, so there's that as a question mark, the crowd, the use of the crowd on the drop and what happens to it over this first 16 bars is still for me like a, okay, we need to think about this. We need to try a few different things out. Let's try no crowd. Let's try crowd staying in for the whole 16 bars, but not being on the next 16 bars. Because the version of it being on drop, but then fading out, and then the second 8 bars, it just feels, maybe the ride has to come in there or something needs to happen. It feels a bit kind of like, oh, we were going and now we're sort of not. 8 bars after the first drop, that feels like we're slowing the record down and not for a clever reason. It feels like that's not quite locked in. I really like going to this little, sort of, we'll call it a bridge, right, where it goes into the little bass line hook. But I feel like he's filtered that away a little bit. On the other version, it's way thicker. Like if I play this, and if we listen to this version, it's even simple little things, and producers always do this. Like the way in which he did that there, he doesn't delay the organ. On the new version, he's delayed the organ over it and he's high passed it more. It doesn't sound as good. It's straight up, when I was saying to him, I really want you to give me this exact bit, but put there, I literally mean literally the exact same thing. Don't change it. Don't go, oh, I'm going to be clever now and try this and try that and try this and try that. Because actually the magic was just in how it sounded. It sounded really good in this version. And in the new version, I think we've sort of lost a little bit of what made that really good. We put it in the right place now, but the way he's almost trying too hard. With the organ delaying and stuff, that actually interrupt this like sort of switch into just the bass line. It's this sort of underproduced switch into the bass line is what makes it exciting. If you produce that, you start putting effects and stuff on it, it loses its magic, man. It's one of those, it's this style of music sometimes just needs to be a bit raw. And I think he had it, the way in which that transition happened was better on the old version. I think he needs to go back and just literally copy paste that back over. I think it would just kick in, it would just hit better. And it feels as though he might have actually like high pass filtered the bass line away or something as well. I'm not sure. And I wonder about maybe getting a little bit of the preacher voice in there as well, just because it's the midsection. I get it not being there on here because we're going to switch into the preacher. So you set up, then you go into preacher. But maybe a little bit of like some of the preachery bits from somewhere that would work, like how he's talking in this bit or that first breakdown. Maybe that could go in here just to kind of, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me. It would just make it feel a bit more like, okay, we're still bubbling. You've got to keep that energy going a little bit here. And I feel like he's dropped the energy a little bit too much in the execution of the idea there. But the layout works way better. And the other little thing that really jumps out to me is switching from the organ that's here. So he's got the stab organ, and then it does this really cool edit into the sort of washy organ. I'll show you what I mean. It sounds great. That way it goes into like a, that's wicked. That's the perfect way from going from the stabby one into the more sort of like musical one. And there's a part of me, and I am well prepared to be wrong about this, but maybe that's the format. Maybe all the 16 bars should do that. Maybe they should always go 8-bar organ stab, switch into it. Maybe we then hear it too much and it loses its magic. That's 100% a concern as a music producer with this thought process. But it does jump out to me as being a really good idea. And it was interesting because I felt that this 8 bars was lacking something. So is the answer this, or does that just sound really good because you don't get it over here and you get it here and that goes into the breakdown and that's why it sounds good? That's something, again, you just have to look at as a music producer. You won't know the answer until you try it and listen to it, and you know, you've got to be prepared to be wrong and go back to how it was before. It's all part of making a record. So organ arrangement, little edit in the middle. The breakdown's in a really good place now.
Gotta keep my. Our challenge now is to keep. I gotta keep my mouth from getting the best of me. You've got to shut the voice down in your mind and listen to the voice.
I'll just say it while I'm thinking it. I think within this section where that guy's chatting and there's a Q&A between the crowd and him, I think there needs to be a little more music. Like there maybe needs to be like a little like clap fill, like clap, or like snare fill, or like some little like kick drum, like the kick. There's a high pass kick there. Maybe it needs to do like a little double kick roll. Or there needs to be some kind of connection between with the loopy, like cool stuff that he's put in with the bass line and the high pass kick and stuff. I feel like that needs to communicate with the idea of the vocals Q&Aing a little bit more, so it feels like the record's kind of like bubbling, because it feels like he's like, oh, and here we go, and they're like, yeah, here, come on, let's go. He's like, right, we're really gonna go now, and they're like, yeah, let's go now. But the rest of the record, whilst it sounds great, I love the way that bass line comes in on the high pass, it's wicked, but the rest of the record is just sat there, not kind of facilitating the build sort of feeling that the crowd's giving. So I think a little bit of work there, just like some like little snare fills, a little double claps with some delay and reverb on them, so it just feels a bit more kind of like the rest of the record is talking back to the sample. Small work, like it's not big work, but I think it will just help us feel like we know where we are in this song. I wouldn't even be against hearing a riser through there. Gotta be soul, gotta be clever. If you put some like mad big EDM riser in it, it would ruin everything, wouldn't it? But like just a sense of the record is building, right? I think would be good through here.
Speaking to your spirit. Oh, y'all hearing me? There's something else at work. Work hard. Look at y'all. Ain't saying enough in the ear. It's a difference when you know you're blind.
Yeah, that drop really works with that organ just being like that. That's wicked. What does he do with the crowd on this half? I think it's just copy pasted. You just bring the ride in there, innit? You just bring the ride in after that 8, that'll carry it. Don't worry about the 8. The ride can carry on afterwards. It's fine. I just think something needs to come in there, and the ride's the perfect thing for it. Maybe, or if you don't want to use the ride, maybe it needs like a bigger shaker or something a bit more kind of lively in the top end. You know, a lot of the kind of artists that do really good work like this, like mentioned him before, Tiger Stripes. Been listening to his stuff a lot recently. It's just a good example of this sort of music done, and the way they sort of pace out, like where shakers are and where shakers aren't, and why they use them, and why they put more kind of movement in the top end of the drums just in the right sort of places. This could be that. It could just be that. It could just be that simple. Maybe the ride just is that fixed though for this record. Do you know what, something is jumping out to me? I did not notice this earlier. In the second half, and then we'll go on to your guys' records after this. You can see how I'm a nightmare at this. I'll just sit here for 2 hours talking about one record if I have my own way. The bass line, there's like bass line licks in this half that aren't in this half. Am I right in thinking that? Yeah, that is different. Right, and then in this half, yeah, those little bass rolls are wicked. They should just be in the record, I think. I think the way that the organ and the bass line are doing that hook together. There's like one on the first one, it's just the bass line. On the second one coming out, it's the bass and the organ. I'm wondering if that should just be the loop. It shouldn't be the like maybe on your intro, like to the record, yeah, in this sort of section, you keep the bass just going straight. But I think once you're at this moment, the first drop, I think this arrangement of the bass line what would you call like baseline hooks, baseline licks at the end of every 4-bar, I think that's a vibe, and I think that would really help the second drop out as well. I think that would really kind of keep that energy up, even if you were like really adamant you liked it. You know, as an artist, I'm not right and wrong here. This is just me thinking out loud. As an artist, if you were like, no, I really like it staying straight here, so then when it flips to the more musical one, that's like the up sort of feeling. I think you should then drop to that on the second drop, should drop to the more kind of like more move. It's more movement, and it's more kind of focus, more energy, more things going on. Just drop to that with the ride right on the drop. I think that would actually work better. Yeah, hadn't noticed that until then. There's a real vibe to that musical stuff within all that. All good, Nat. We're just chatting about your record, mate. We are just chatting about your record, mate. All good, all good, all good. It's sounding really good, dude. Really coming together really nicely. Right, let's crack on. Let's go to next. So what we'll do, right? Demo share down on the open Discord. We've got a handful of you in, and we had a couple. It was it Badder? Yeah, it was Badder I didn't squeeze in last week. But if he's not here today, I want to kind of I'm trying to figure out the best and fairest way of doing this. And obviously this is only the 4th one, and it's only the second A&R one, is it? Of how I figure this out of what's fair. Because if loads of people are like, oh, I was going to watch it afterwards, I'm like, okay, I will stick to just a rigid first come, first serve. If we end, whoever got missed off, you start next time. Or it might be better to do it like whoever's actually on the live stream gets privilege to having theirs play because they're here. I don't know what the fairest way of doing it, I'll be honest. We'll kind of feel it out over the weeks of doing this. We're doing it every single week, guys. So, you know what I mean? We'll figure this stuff out. We're still a baby. We're on live stream number 4. We're still babies out here on this. You know, we're still figuring it out. Hey, Sav, how you doing? I'll tell you what. If I can, I'll come back to Badder. He's a good friend, Badder. I've known him for a few years now as a producer. Fressy, I know Fressy from working with her on a tour room course and just keeping in comms on Instagram. So I know she'll catch up on it. So I will listen to Fressy's. And then what we'll do is we'll literally come down. So we'll go Sav, Nay, Rich, I know you're here. Dan, I've seen you're in. Ryan, I've seen you're in. So we'll definitely, and Neil, I've seen you're in. So we'll definitely do you guys. You guys that are here, I'll just make time for it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, let's rock on. Let's do it. Let's just crack on. I'm just going to hit play. See what's going on. So set up, I can set Fressy up a little bit. Her style is more in the melodic house space, definitely, and that's been a growing thing for her over the last couple of years. It's just bits and pieces she sends me. Yeah, so more in the melodic house. I'm going to say this. It's going to be like hard techno now, isn't it? I haven't listened to any of these pre-stream. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go live on it. But let's have a listen. Let's flick through this. Here we go. Yeah, that's sounding sick. That's sounding really, really good. That's really come along. Now, so shit, I should have waited to see if Fressie was turning up for the second half, but there's like, that vocal was originally a splice vocal, but I feel like maybe that's been resung. I might be completely wrong. That's like a weird nostalgic thing, hearing that vocal. I'm like, I sort of know that from somewhere, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I think that's a splice vocal, and I actually think this potentially could have been the song that Fressie made on the tour room course with me and Pete Griffiths, but it's had loads of new work done to it. Let me know if I'm right on that, Fressie, in the comments below when you see this. I think it might be. There's a lot of amazing work in this, right? Like the mix, the quality of the sounds themselves. I'm sort of reading comments. If you see me looking down as I'm doing stuff, I've got the comments on my phone here. For me, what actually needs a little bit of sorting out, so the quality is top tier. What needs a little bit of love on here is the storytelling. I feel like I'm listening to 3 to 4 different interpretations of what this melody could be. We're in a certain scale, and there's like variations of that scale happening. In fact, I think we might even shift at one point into something else, and they all sound good. But it means as a listener, I don't ever kind of go like, let me get my little draw tool. This is easier to sort of like visualize out. As we come through this record, everything's great. The storytelling of the vocal, the melodies, the way we're going like vocal, and then an arp comes in after, all hits like real nice. Then when we do the first drop, air quotes, right? We go here, we go Rmbr, we go into like afterlife stuff, which is different. It is a bit different. Like this, what we do there, like drop into those lower bass sort of like stabs and like holding the note and not doing the melody. That's like, there's an identity to that, like a big identity to that underpins like, oh, I'm doing this type of melodic house. But I feel like the previous section, this is not right and wrong stuff. This can actually just be about like the pacing of how I'm experiencing it. Because you could go find like loads of this sort of stuff, and they do both. But it's the pacing, it's the order in which you do that like allows the brain to kind of like feel like it's going down a specific path that feels right to a listener. Where that was the first bit where I was a bit like, oh, because of the setup, like this first half being the setup, this moment, and this is probably the first like moment we're trying to tell the listener, hey, engage with my record. It did something which sounds fucking brilliant, but it wasn't what I was expecting because of what I'd heard before. I'd almost imagine it to have like given me this a bit earlier and then come back to something that felt a bit more like this section. To start with melody and then try and switch to that more sort of straight before the melody thing. Again, these are rules made to be broken, by the way. That doesn't quite work. That doesn't feel quite right. And I would forgive it if you then went into melody and that became a rule, right? I suppose this is a very important part of what I'm trying to explain, is if we then like went, okay, fine, then here, we do a little break, then we're going to flip back to here. So we go back to this, and then you go, okay, here's the identity. We're then going to do melody, there's going to be a breakdown, then it's going to drop to just the straight stuff again, but this time I'll have, like, you know, like the synths open a bit more like ba, 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 you know, like all that sort of melodic house stuff does at the minute. But we don't do that. We change again. So on all of the moments in the record, I feel like there are, so there's this one, there's this one, there's this one, and there's this one. All 4 of these, and this crossover here is its own new thing as well. All 4 feel like maybe I do the record like this one, and it's like, or maybe I do it like this one, or maybe I do it like that one. Now, in no way does that mean that you shouldn't do this, by the way, but to a listener who doesn't make, like, I've written a lot of melodic stuff. Those of you that have ever followed me on my stories and stuff on Instagram, you'll see like all the synths I've got in the back there, a bunch of them are synths I bought because they're iconic synths from the 2000s, from that era of trance. That's my original era of DJing and making music. And I write like old school sounding trance just as a hobby on the side sometimes, you know. So I do write melodic stuff. I like playing piano and stuff like that. Like I do get melodics. It's like, you know, a lot of the big room melodic house stuff is like when it hits right, it's the best music in the world. I love it. So I can speak to this at least as a fan, right? As a hobbyist in this sort of domain of like melodic house. And I just from that, even just that sort of understanding of this sound, I feel like because we don't ever get back to this core like feeling of like, oh, we're building and it's going to be a bit different on the build, but then it drops back to that fundamental like, here's why we're listening to this record, here's why the DJ is playing this record, that this is the hook. Because we actually change what that is at least 4 times over this record, it detracts me a little bit. Because you never gives me, what a listener wants is to be like, oh yeah, it's doing something different. Oh, now it's just back to that. Oh, I'm so glad it got back to this. You never give me that. It always kind of like moves around a little bit and gives me a different interpretation of what it's doing. And so I think that can be tightened up a little bit. And yeah, like here, you really feel that, right? Where we actually shift, like... we shift down, like we're actually playing, it's like we could be in the same scale, but it's a different song. It's like, it's too different to sort of throw in at the end of a record. The problem with this is I think within dance music, we're getting into a framework where we need to start breaking rules and start doing stuff that throws people off a bit. And as long as you make it sound like correct, there is a space for what you're trying to do here, Fressy. But I think just where they're paced out, where the changes are, like maybe if it did that key change on the breakdown, that's a better place to kind of like get that feeling, and then you flip back to the straighter bass line. Like it's to do with where these ideas are happening. That throws me off a little bit. It feels like you're changing what I'm trying to enjoy too often. And every single change sounds really fucking good, but it's not the same song each time. So it kind of it loses my kind of like, oh, I understand what this record is. Hey, maybe that's your whole thing. You could be sitting here listening to this going, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like change the rule of the record every single time. Hey, look, I'm not going to tell someone to not do something like that. I think artists need to be breaking the rules more these days and doing something. And if people might not like it, people, you know, it's a higher risk return thing as a music producer to do. But fucking hell, like, people do need to start being more original in dance music, I'll be real, really. So it's a double-edged sword with this. As like hey, I help people get records signed, that side of me is like, yeah, we need some clearer rules, some better structure about like, you build like this and it always drops like that and then it goes on to this. Give me a song structure that tells a story that I can recognize and relate to and kind of know where I'm going. At the moment, it feels a bit like it switches things up so much that I don't know what I'm coming back to ever. But on the other side of me, that's kind of like, people need to be a bit more kind of different and try shit out. I appreciate the fact that this is different. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it kind of comes down to, we would come down to record labels, what you're actually trying to achieve with the song. Like if you're just trying to do something really original with yourself, and great. But if you're like, oh no, I thought this was really locked into what all those like the big room melodic guys are doing, I do feel like this has not quite got that structure sort of ironed out in what its identity is. But the parts are amazing. Is it? Let me know on the comments, or just hit me up on Insta. Is that the vocal that we were using in the course, but you've had it resung, or is it maybe AI resung? Which I'm not against, by the way. I know some people are really like, ugh, about it, but I'm all right with it. Yeah, because it definitely is a sample I recognise, but I feel like there's more to it, and the way it's being sung in certain areas feels like it's like been expanded upon what the original sample was. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But yeah, no, great. Like fucking really goddamn strong. Like very, very, very strong record. It just needs figuring out a little bit. You've almost got too many good bits. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, awesome stuff. Right, Sav, you in, Sav? I sort of saw you floating around a minute ago. Did I not? Did I not? This is tricky because I'm like 30 seconds in front of you. Yeah, no, I'm all right with AI, man. We were speaking about it at the Tool Room event last Friday, weren't we? And Kasim was sort of saying on stage, like, why, you know, use it as a tool. And I'm very much like that. Like, I quite like the idea of using AI to sketch ideas out and then getting an actual human to do it properly. It really depends on the sort of record you're making, doesn't it? Like, how important is the vocal? Like, it's just one of those, I think it's still a very grey area. I don't think saying, like, if you use AI, it's not creative. I think that's a really dumb, uncreative way of thinking about the problem of AI, if I'm honest. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of conversation to be had and a lot of room of movement on like what people think is okay with use of AI and how much AI and why it's being used. Like that's never really talked about that much. Like why is someone used AI over like, oh, just because it's cheating? It's not that, is it? Like that's a dumb way of thinking about it. So, you know, a lot of people are just using sample packs who like to say that AI is rubbish and they're just using sample packs that are made by other people. It's like, come on, can we figure out a more consistent argument around like what music production is nowadays, you know? And I think that's a scary thing with AI, not to go on about AI again. I know we've already done it. It'll probably come up every week, right? It's a kind of a big topic in the music world these days. It's not going anywhere. It is a tool and it is changing the landscape of what music production is. And I think that's quite scary to a lot of people. And when people are scared of things like that, we do push away from it and we sort of say like, no, I don't like it. I don't want that. I don't want to do that. And that's fair because it is scary and it is changing what you know and it's changing the landscape. And it's maybe making it harder for you because you've now got to learn AI and some of the younger kids are coming through knowing AI really well. So they've got to like, you know, it feels unfair. I mean, is what it is. You've got to adapt. Okay, Zab, you here? Yes, he is. Awesome, right, mate, let's have a listen. Let us know on the comments, on the chat below, dude, like how long you've been making music, just a bit of info. How long you've been making music? Is this your first song ever? Have you been making music 21 years and this is something you've just had signed? Do you know what I mean? Whatever info you've got for us, mate. Let us know a little bit about yourself and about the record. It'd be really interesting to read and get into that as we're listening. Let's crack on. Yes, mate. That's really cool. Really, 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 really cool. So advice on this is an interesting one because this has a very specific sound that I only know a bit. Like I know it a bit. Like it's for me. What I tell you, this is a really good fun game to play because this is always really interesting for other artists. So I've not ever listened to your stuff before. This is the first time I've been sit down, especially on a live stream like this, and listen to one of your records. So what do I think it is? And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because like when you write a record, if you think about it, one of the really important things to do is to make sure that an audience knows what you are, so then they know that they want to listen to more. Yeah. This for me is that US deep house PIV stuff. That's like the first, like, what's the first label that comes to mind, Ben? PIV, and that's more due to my lack of education within that space. But PIV's the obvious one, right? PIV's the big one. Artists like Chris Dussy. Chris Dussy's stuff's a bit tougher, right? And some of that stuff has gone a bit more raw, hasn't it? Like in the drums and that. Like, but this is very. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. Let me know, like on chat. Like, is that relatable? You're like, yep, that's it. Or you're like, nah. Have you heard these labels? Have you heard this sort of stuff? Have you heard these artists? Like, let us know in the chat, man. Because obviously people come back and watch these, even though there's only sort of 10 of us here. There's quite a lot more people come back and watch them afterwards. And I think I really want to try and get people kind of communicating a little bit more. Yeah, like Pivy sort of stuff for sure. It's great. Like I really love that sort of stuff. Like it's really good. Like their older stuff's amazing. They've got some really good. Yeah, you could say Cecile. I think not quite music enough for Cecile. Maybe though. That breakdown's killer, mate. By the way, that the tension in the way you've built that like setup of the breakdown into the sort of build is really good. Like there's a real like, oh, I'm floating through a journey but you can see the light at the end of the tunnel at the same time. It's very, very cool. Do you want the only real core bit of advice I got on this? I got two. One of them is like a throwaway mix down thing. Your kick and bass are in a really good place. Your bass could be a touch warmer in comparison to the kick, and I'm only talking in comparison to the kick. The kick's so like in front of my face, it's like smacking me right in the front of the face, so much so that everything else feels like it's in the background by 2%. It's not a big thing this, so don't start massively changing it. I just feel like the bass line, it's just on. It's like if you use something like sometimes when we do this, I'll actually open up Ableton in the background and show plugins and stuff. I think that's quite a cool way of doing feedback, is actually opening Ableton and like showing what I mean, showing the actual plugins and stuff, and like maybe some settings that would work. I think it's a fun way of doing this. Come on, Ableton. This is like the most tanked PC ever. Open. R-Bass by Waves, or yeah, I think, do you know what? I think the best plugin for this is R-Bass by Waves, but also Bloom's quite good on this sort of stuff. Not as good as R-Bass, so. And actually, a lovely little tool is in where are you? Are you in here? In Ozone 12. I know you can open these separately, but I haven't got them as my save, so I'll just go here. The bass control is really good. Like I really rate this plugin at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. But R-Bass would be really good on that bass. Just a little smidge. Just a little smidge of warmth. You could probably, honestly, you'd probably find with R-Bass on that bass line, just turn it on. Just open the plugin up. And please, Waves. Just open the plugin up. Make sure you're not redlining on the way out. And just sort of like go, oh, that sounds quite nice. I'll just ease it off a little bit like that. And you probably find that bass line just oomph into that kick drum that tiny touch more, dude. And in that same kind of thought process, I feel like the top end of the hats, you want those hats, right? Those nice tight, the sound choice is spot on, the grooves are spot on, but you need to get the transient of that to hit me, like that kick's hitting me. The kick is hitting me. The kick's like, I wouldn't change a thing on that kick. But it is so good that it's making everything else sound a bit like soft, which, you know, the hats on this stuff is a bit sort of floaty, slowly, you know, like chickadee, but there needs to be a bit more transient shape on them. A great trick for this is literally, you can use lots of different plugins for this. One I've been using is Spiff. I think I brought this up a couple of times now, actually. Just on my drum groups, it can be really, really powerful. If I take but you won't be able to hear it, so I can't because of the way the drivers work. But as we discovered last week, right? This is a really good plugin for it's a transient shaper. It just makes things like have more tick to them, let's put it that way. But you can kind of use it like an EQ, like, oh, I don't want it to happen to like the low end of stuff. I only want it to happen to the mid-range of stuff, you know. It's quite powerful like that, and there's a lot of dials and stuff in it, but basically it's like less and more, and then a mixed dial is pretty much, and fiddling around with this is kind of how I use it personally, to be honest. I feel like just chucking something like this with a couple of dB extra volume on the whole drum group would just give your clap and your hats just that same bite that the kick has, and that's just going to help the whole record feel like a bigger dimension of an experience. Like the experience of the record will feel fuller because of the way your brain just doesn't get this like slight difference between what the kick is and what the hats are, that kind of thing. It's all very light work though, mate. So it's actually a very nicely mixed down record, but I just feel like that upper mids 2, 3, 4 up to 8K could just be a little more lively, just to help the kick not be quite so up front as it is. But all, you know, I'm talking 1 or 2 dB sort of stuff, and it's not big stuff. And the only other thing for me is the drop, the resolve before the drop. Now on the video you'll probably see I do a little snare roll with my hands. I was really expecting a little snare fill. I do like the little sound, but it's quite quiet compared to what we've just been listening to. So it doesn't really, it feels like that moment. If we're gonna do like, it's like, no, Ben, I'm not doing a snare roll. I'm not gonna do anything like that. I'm actually gonna do like something just a bit more cool and almost sort of laid back, just to sort of like let it just sort of bump back in. I think it might be just like, it just needs to be dialed in a little bit more if that's what you're thinking, and which is a perfectly reasonable, creative decision to make on a record like this. But I think that just needs to hit a little better, like that idea needs to hit a little bit better. Maybe the little sort of sound needs to just be louder, maybe a little reverse cymbal, just something. It just feels a bit like it lets go, but doesn't let go to anything, then kicks back in. And once it's in, we're great. All these sort of sloshy, sort of like synthy bits that are swirling around. It's all great. It's all wicked. It's really nice. And I do wonder about the vocal. I was just wondering if the vocal's used over here. The vocal I really like. A couple of people mentioned it on the chat. I really like the vocal too. I was just wondering if it could play a bigger part. Maybe I don't mean like, you know, I've released a lot of stuff on Tour Room, so I don't mean like looping up a big vocal and like, yeah, or like before the drop or anything. I'm not saying that, so don't misunderstand. But just maybe a bit more of the vocal in the build to set up that drop, or, you know, like I do like a lot of some of the stuff on Piv, they will have like a, oh yeah, like just before the drop. There's some really cool, of the right era, the right vibe, like a hip hop, like, you know, sampling someone. Oh, well, I shouldn't say any artist names because we're on YouTube, aren't we? Some artist names that rhyme with Paz from the 90s hip hop scene. Something like that would, you know, like a, oh yeah, like just has to be the right kind of vocal. Maybe would go a really long way for that one particular moment. And I do think, like, to just use Piv as an example, on a lot of those sort of records, they do get that, don't they? You do get that kind of thing where it's just that one little thing. And maybe it's not a vocal, maybe it's a little thing, like a little synth, a little snare fill, I don't know, whatever, right? But it's just right, and it's just for that moment. It's just something for that moment, and it just, you know, when you listen to it in a fairly sterile environment, like we're all just like on YouTube listening to this, but when you're in a club and this is loud, just that moment fucking being just right just sets these records off, don't they? And a lot of the guys that do really well with this sound, if you go and listen and think about that context, you'll really notice that's what they get really bloody right every time, is they facilitate that moment of just everything just for that little one bar. It's just they just spot on, whether it's a vocal, whether it's just something else. That, I think, would help the record. It's such a small thing. Everything else is killer. Everything else is really, really good. I'd like to stack this up against reference tracks. If we, you know, to really get into this, Svistio, we would have to get a couple of reference tracks in, put them up against it. Like, what have they done? We don't have to copy it. Just like, what have they done? Why is that? Why did that record get signed to a really big sort of US deep house? Is that what you consider this sound? I'm old. I always think of this sound as like US deep house. Is it still like considered that as a genre? That's how I always think of, like, that's what I call that Piv stuff as a UK person. I think of it as US deep house. But its sound has evolved well past, because obviously deep house has been used as a genre term for quite a few different things, hasn't it, over time? So I'll just when I go quiet, it's me looking at chat. Okay, right, cool. But really, right, mate, really, really good record. I hope the advice hits right and, you know, helps you move on with the record and gives you just that, maybe that last little 5% that will just sort of help you pull this together. But yeah, sick. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Production-wise so far today as well, it's like, whew, I need to actually step my own game up a little bit, I think. Can't hide behind my excuse of everything just sounding really raw and underproduced for too much longer, I don't think. Nairobi. Are you here, Nairobi? I think I might have seen you. It doesn't matter if not. It doesn't matter if not. We'll just go through. We'll just go through it. Ah, cool. Nice one. Thank you for letting me know. Nah, mate. Never, never, never undersell yourself. It's all good. We're all music producers. We're all learning. Trust me, I still make absolute rubbish most days, like yesterday. So don't stress it, dude. We're just all here to support each other. We're here to have fun. We're just here to listen to some music. Yeah, let's have a listen. In the chat, mate, whilst we're listening, just let us know a little bit about yourself. If you feel comfortable to, you don't have to, do you know what I mean? But like, yeah, how long have you been making music? What is this record? How did this record come about? What are you aiming for? Any labels in mind? Like what sort of corner of the scene you're looking at? That kind of stuff. It can be really helpful for me as well as I sort of calibrate with what I'm listening to. Very nice. You know what? That did not go where I felt like it was going from the start. That's really, really cool, man. It's really interesting. It reminds me, like you sort of said, Axwell from like 2010. It just reminds me of like even earlier than that. It reminds me of like old Sasha sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Just that like progressive. Like, do you remember when progressive house was progressive house and not EDM? I don't know why EDM stole the term progressive house at some point in time. Do you remember when that happened? When progressive house went from this sort of stuff to just like big room EDM? What was that about? Why did that happen? Really nice, mate. Yeah, really, really nice. Really love the... It's really nice to hear artists doing stuff like this now as well. Like, you're actually building the record. It's not like... Typically now we almost write pop records now. Like, it's almost like there's a DJ intro, whatever, and then it's like, here's a big breakdown, doing loads of things, and we dropped something really cool, now a big vocal comes in, now it's next breakdown, hey, no, attention span, innit? Like, that's how music is. A lot of dance music feels a bit like that at the moment, especially more accessible tech house, let's call it, and my own sort of stuff. You know, it's no shade at it, but my stuff can be a bit like it, I'll be honest. It's really nice to hear people do it, and I've noticed this actually with some people coming through, just doing more proggy sort of sounds. Doing like stuff that sort of has a little bit more of that journey, you know, like there's more, yeah, a bit more of a journey. Like the B side, like the Way Out West mixes on old trance records from like the early 2000s, that sort of stuff. I really rate it. I really like this whole sort of feeling. I've heard a few people coming through, some of the younger kids as well, which is really interesting, coming through doing this sort of sound, this sort of journey, floaty, emotive sort of experience, rather than trying to show off with big hooks everywhere and things like that. So I really appreciate this, mate. I think this is really, really cool. A couple of things to watch out for is how often you use, very small things, how often you're using the crash. The crash is happening maybe too often in certain areas of the record. Like you can hear it on the outro, it's like every 4 bars. You want to keep that to like every 16 or maybe 8, but yeah, don't you lock into it too much as a listener. I wonder about if we could get, I want to listen to a little bit of it again, but somehow getting the vocal, like basically what my brain kind of wanted was something to lock me back in and to really pick me up. Because in a lot of records, like I'm saying, I'll be given the advice, all right, we've got to go into a breakdown. All right, we need the hook in now. All right, now we've got to switch to the vocal. All right, now we need to get back into the break. But this isn't that. This isn't that. And it isn't that. And it's about building. Vocal doesn't even come in till the breakdown, does it? And then we build and we build, and it kind of resets itself back a bit, and then it kind of comes back up. For me, right, I think for a record like this, what I really like to hear is when we start coming back up to like this sort of section, it actually peaks a bit more. Like there's actually a bit more going on. Like get me a loopy version of the vocal, so it's like really sort of like looping, like, was it? You kind of like, and like another arp, like another, like more layers of synths, like just little delicate, like little, like it would be great to hear some sort of like little chimes and bells, just sort of panning a little bit more and like really get me into this space. So like the kind of like after the breakdown, you get the feeling of like it building and coming, popping back a bit, then building up. But as you build back up, you actually crescendo it. You go in a little bit more than what you've done. Like you put some new, don't be afraid to add some new sounds, because it's that sort of style. Like I was saying, if this was, you were like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get this on Tool Room, it'd be a completely different conversation, because it's not the sort of record, well, not the sort of record they sign, but also just the way we build records for that kind of label and those kind of artists, the way we do it, like myself. This is different. This is different. And I think you can push into the way you're doing this. You know, you're going for like a progressive sort of thing. I think you can push that feeling a bit more. It'd be great to hear some like more organic sounds, you know, like look at I'll show you actually. Companies like Spitfire. Oh, have I actually got them sorted out in here? I might not, because I had a problem with a hard drive at one point. This company as well do phenomenal. This is my favorite company at the moment for any string melodic stuff. The Crow on the Hill company, amazing. Everything they do is amazing, if you ask me. But Spitfire also do some good stuff. I haven't got them here. That's really annoying. Oh, I think it's because they're all locked into. Yeah. Sorry, it's been so long since I've used this stuff. I go through like fads of writing melodic stuff and using loads of like string libraries and stuff. I just like, I have to get it out of my system every now and again. Orchestral swarm stuff. So this stuff is like articulations, and they do like a good percussive one. I do own it. It doesn't seem to be here. I've obviously not added it again. Yeah, but like, it's all sort of stuff. So it's more like, oh god, I need to figure this stream out so I can get both things working. And I have to have one or the other. I think I've thought of an idea for it, but it doesn't matter. But it's all articulations that are like, you know, like horns that aren't going like burp. It's like, and you can kind of like that sort of stuff, like undulating kind of human, interesting articulations with more organic instruments and like chimes and bells and sticks and stuff like that. I think that would be wicked on your record, mate. I think it would just add this sort of final sense of like, oh, this is crescendoing like really, really nicely. But yeah, wicked record though, dude. Yeah, really, really nice. How did you say how long you've been making music out of interest? Producing on and off for about 10 years now and DJing since 1999. Same age as me then, dude? Same age. That's when I started DJing as well. I think, yeah, it might have been the year before. But it was basically that time. Yeah, wicked, mate. I think that would really, really help. It's interesting because your bass line sounds like a Kasim bass line. Like when my first thoughts, right, were this kick and bass is a bit odd because the kick's like this clean, almost like trancey sort of kick, but the bass line's like this funkier vibe. But actually, it all comes together. Like actually, once you've like revealed the grand design of the record, once we get to the breakdown, I'm like, aha, yeah, all right. This is like old school B-side trance stuff. Like melodic, hypnotic, progressive house, like from the original version of it, which I rate, dude. Bring it back. Yeah, nice one, mate. Really well done. Yeah, so I'm 1 year older than you. 44. There we go, mate. We've lived the same dream. We come from the best era of music. Let it be known. Which is why everyone's now making it again. Gotta be original, kids. Come on. Right. Anyway, enough of that. There's none of it old man ranting about the state of the scene today, please, Benjamin. But really good. I really like that. It's great to hear someone do something like that. Like, it's cool. It's really fresh. Rich Estachio, as I know you as. Let's go, mate. So, if you've been doing these live streams, you've seen me. I think Rich has had to put music up almost every single week. He's a very productive music producer. Writes a lot of stuff. Currently on, just for openness, currently on the Tour Room course with myself and Pete Griffiths and the rest of the team there at Tour Room Academy. Doing some amazing work. Writes stuff that's very akin to what I like. Very inspired by artists like Kasim, to pronounce it correctly. And yeah, a lot of sort of that kind of big room, tool room. It's like tool roomy, funky, jack-in sort of stuff, right? Really, really, really cool stuff. And Rich is here, Stachio is here, and yeah, let's crack on. I think let's just listen to it, see where he's at, and see what. And this is looking chunky. I like the look of this record. Nice one, dude. Very, very good. Very, very good indeed, as always, mate. I've got a couple of thoughts. I've got a really annoying one for you, and I think you probably know what I'm going to say. I think a couple of you in the room probably know what I'm going to say. I think we've got a really strong record here, though, mate. I genuinely think you can figure this out for tracks. Let's break it down into its components, right? And I think what a really important thing, like seriously as well, like if you're trying to release on tour room tracks nowadays, I say this quite a lot, but I always like to say it because I think it's like a really important thing to recognise. When I first came through, I first started releasing with Tour Room. They first put me out on tracks because that's kind of how tracks worked. Then it was like, oh, this person seems all right. Let's put them out on tracks, and if the EP does well, then we'll give them a shot on the label. And that was how it went, really. It's really changed now. I mean, that progression can still happen for sure, but I do feel like Tour Room Tracks is now specifically, rather than a springboard, a stepping stone label, as I would call it, to the main label, it's its own ecosystem. It does heavier, more club-focused music, and the main label does stuff that's actually typically more focused on streams and stuff, really, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like going for that bigger audience, wider, more accessible audience of more accessible kind of house music, really. And Tracks is straight up, no, this is for the clubs. But it's a big label on its own right now, Tour Room Tracks. All of the stuff that goes out on there is really good. They really look after that label. I've got a record coming out on there next month, and I can say firsthand, like, there's been a lot of backwards and forwards with me and the team about getting the record right. It isn't just like, hey, I made this, and they're like, oh, that's quite good, Ben, let's chuck it out and see how it goes. Like, nah, man. Like, they take that label very seriously. It's like, I've been doing this 25 years, and between me and Danny, who runs the label, and the mastering engineer, we've gone backwards and forwards quite a bit with that record to get it right. So they don't, my point being is they two bits of information there. They work very closely with their artists, and that's a really important thing to recognise and to know. They will work with you. If they hear something they really like, they won't go, I won't sign this because the mixdown's not quite good enough, or like, oh, like they'll go like, oh, there's something really in this. Let's work with our artist. They will do that. But it needs to have so the record needs to have something. It's not to do with the mixdown. It's not to do with, it's not to do with is the sound good enough? It's more to do with the idea. It's more to do with the category of what the label is putting out at the time. And I find that Tour Room Tracks kind of evolves and moves quite a bit. They'll always put the tougher, funky stuff out. They've always been known for doing that as a label. But if you listen to Tour Room Tracks, and what I really what I'm coming round to saying here is, if you want to release on Tour Room Tracks, you need to take it and you do take it seriously. I'm not saying that you don't, by the way, Stachio, but you need to take it really seriously in the framework of understanding the label, like having reference tracks that are recent reference tracks, because that's what they're releasing now. Some people come to, quite a lot of people come to me saying they want to release on Tour Room Tracks. It's the most common client I would have. And a lot of the time they're like, yeah, and their reference tracks are all from 2017 or 5 years ago or 4 years ago. It's like, listen to what they've just released in the last 6 months. It's moved on. It's different. What the type of vocals they're using, the type of breakdowns, how long the breakdowns are, The label has an identity that they really care about, and that's what you always have to remember with labels like that. They really care about the identity of the label. Now, they're obviously always looking for artists to break the mold, because they're always the artists that go massive. But I think it's an important thing to do when you're trying to approach a label like Tour Room Tracks. Is a very hard label to get onto if you've not released elsewhere first nowadays. You kind of need to look at the industry and go okay, who's released on Tour Room Tracks in the last 6 months? Where else have they been releasing in the last 2 years? Are there some slightly smaller labels that can show, are they, and this is how I got onto Tour Room. I released on labels like Simmer and Simmer Black, and a label called Grin at the time. And a couple others that were in that space, CR2 a little bit as well, weirdly. Just doesn't really relate, to be honest. And that set up a little platform where they had heard my stuff. So when I was trying to send stuff into a label like Tour Room, they were already DJing my stuff. Mark was already playing some of my stuff in his sets. So you already got this kind of oh, okay, yeah, cool, it's this dude. He's a bit, he definitely needs some work on his music, that kind of thing. But he's doing some bits. Okay, cool. that you really need a bit of, like I call it motion. Well, everyone calls it motion, right? You need a bit of motion to approach a label like Toolroom Tracks in just the work, in just sort of like the work. But that said, if you sent a demo in that was fucking killer, they're not going to turn it down. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's music. Pinch of salt with everything I say. There's fucking a million different ways of skinning this thing. But what I would say, yeah, just to sort of set this sort of framework up for what I want to talk about, because there's some interesting stuff in here. Like, so there's a couple of social faux pas is the normal saying, Ben. Like demo faux pas, I suppose, in here, right? Well, there's one. It's the vocal. The vocal's going to get in your way a little bit. Is it Kathy Brown? I'm always right. There's so many of these old school samples. I get like the splice ones mixed up with the real ones nowadays. It's just so many. I think it's Kathy Brown, this one. The label would have heard this vocal quite a lot of times. It's something that has been, used a lot over the years in this style of music. Or would have to be cleared. No. A lot, like with demos, don't worry about clearance. You always have to worry about clearance when you're doing stuff like this. But labels, if they like a record or not, they work with you to get things cleared. That's a part of house music. It just is. But there are certain vocals that are just like, everyone's already used it. Everyone's already tried it. It's a splice one. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I get like the two conflated sometimes because I do a lot of work with students with people trying to use like Kathy Brown sort of stuff. Then we go find stuff on Splice. And this is one of those. This is one of those ones that's been used quite a lot by lots of people who send demos into Toolroom, for sure. I ought to be honest, right? And that aside, I don't want to make it sound like it's about that, because it's not. That's just an insider thing from someone who knows the team there quite well and what they, I just know that's a thing, right? It's not just about that though, because if you wrote a really amazing record, they would be like, oh yeah, I know, but this is just the one, isn't it? This is just the one. It's the best use of that vocal ever. Let's go. I don't think it completely suits the rest of your record. I think if you wrote down on a bit of paper the sort of things that Toolroom Tracks release, you would tick every single box, right? But actually, if you try and put it all together, I don't think the kind of gnarly bass line, is that bass line a sample? It might not be, because it's just, that sort of sounds relatively straightforward to make. And the melody that you're doing is like an obvious one to, creatively come up with. But I really recognise that as a sample. Like, I've used it myself, the bass line. But it might, like I said, it's very easy. You could have actually just made it yourself as well. But just out of pure curiosity, because I think that bass line and the drums and your stab, I think they've got a specific identity to them that wants a different vocal. I think you need to take the drums, the bass line, and the stab, and made by me, yeah, cool. And work on those three things a little bit more. Those three things need a little bit more work. Like, for instance, the record needs to have a stronger identity. At the moment, right, unfortunately, this is how it cuts. Like, you've got really good drums. The tops could be a bit louder, but whatever, right? Good drums, great bass line, and great stab. The stab needs to be louder. The stab is sitting underneath everything a little bit too much it's meant to be this big focal point, and it's not. It's getting buried a bit. But again, they wouldn't not sign a record because of that. But all of three of them are something that, hey Fressy, how you doing? Good to see you. All three of those elements aren't super original, or they don't stand out as a super duper here's that record that does this. None of them have really got that about them. They're all really good, by the way, but there needs to be a bit more of a thing happening with the record. Now, this has happened because you're using the vocal to set up the thing, to be the centerpiece in the breakdowns. I actually think what you should try and do is mute the vocal, work on the stab. I hear this stab actually pitching up almost. Maybe not doing it as constant as that old school techno trick, but maybe every 16 bars for 4 bars at the end of each time, and then that becomes a big centerpiece of the breakdown. It really goes something more oh cool, what's that artist done on this record? That's what you've got to try and do. You've got really good sounds, really good drums, and really good bass line. But they are all the sort of sounds, drums and bass lines that this label will hear quite, it's this is you're hitting the threshold of the quality that's needed, but now you need to do something that makes them in an A&R meeting go huh, what's this one? Who's this? This is, hang on, put that back again. That was mental, that. What was he doing there? Well, how does he use that sound? That's a really interesting way of using that sound. That's what you need to do. To get onto a label like Toolroom Tracks, you need to get that A&R team to go like, huh? What's this? Out of the like 100 records that all are of this quality? That's the scary thing with Toolroom Tracks, is they get like hundreds of records a week, like hundreds a week. I think at one point in time, Toolroom would get about 600 to 700 demos a week. And like half of that, the quality is like really fucking high. It's pretty mental, to be honest. So you've got to stand out. And I think, mate, where I want to push you, and I can push, for sort of context, I work with Astashio a little bit, so I feel comfortable kind of like knowing where I can push him. And I think this is what's going to make you a better producer, all your sound designing or sound choices and what you're doing is like fucking there. It's now about you doing something that kind of like pushes the mold a little bit more, like does something really creative and just stretches outside of like just going, oh, I've got good sounds, let's just do a tech house arrangement, put like the talky vocal on that builds up, and then it's just going to go. So like stylistically, I don't think her soul 60s diva vocal style goes with your ravey stab and ravey like bumpy bassline. Like I think those don't quite match. They don't quite sort of the framework of them. You're talking about a label like Toolroom, you've got to get that shit really locked in. I wonder if you muted the vocal, really worked on that stab to do something that was like cooking in the breakdowns, like really like do something, then go, okay, what vocal would go on this? Like what would actually set this, what would push this into the stratosphere now? Which is an inside out, back to front way of working sometimes. But I think for you as an exercise in creativity, it's going to really help you understand, because I'm trying to explain something, but I know you're talented enough that doing the work is where you'll really understand what I mean. Like the light bulb will go off brightly when you're doing the work. You'll do it and hear it and go like, ah, fuck yeah, okay. I see what you're saying now. That's where it will really come to light. And once you've got that, I think then you'd go and go like, what about a more ravey vocal? What about like something that kind of suits this more kind of big room, like ravey sort of sound we got going, like a more female kind of, oh yeah, baby, 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 that then kind of works with the stab and actually adds more energy, adds more kind of theatre to the idea. Because at the moment the vocal's trying to carry the idea, but the vocal's this like soulful diva like talking about stuff, but then the drop is like this bumpy bass line and ravey stabs like da, 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 da. Those two things don't feel like they're setting each other up, and a stab doesn't feel like it's a bigger part of the setup because it's the main thing on the drop. So that's what I think, mate. I think that's a really good way of thinking about it. I think it's a really good way of thinking about it. I hope that makes sense, dude. And again, it's always meant with love. You know, you even joked on the thing like be brutal or be mean. Yeah, be really mean. You're getting used to me now, aren't you? That's what it is for me. That's what it is. If we're talking Toolroom Tracks, I know Danny quite well, and I know that's what I think if he saw this, he'd probably go like, yeah. But also, like, I think he'd be on the same page as me. I do. I've worked with him long enough now. I think this is what he would be thinking. So yeah, have a little crack at that, mate. Definitely and re-upload. I'd love to hear it again. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to hear you push that, because there's a really good record in here. That's the thing. So don't feel like this is pushback. Sometimes when you get pushback on stuff, it can be really deflating for creativity. I know that because I get it myself from people. But don't let it be that. Like you've got a really strong idea here. It just needs a bit more. The idea needs to be a bit more realised. And I think that vocal is stopping you from realising the potential in that stab hook and doing something really fucking mad with it on the breakdowns that really turns people's heads. And then looking at that and going, what vocal would suit this now? And I don't think it would be a sort of diva-y, spoken gospel-y sort of thing. I think it would be something different. Awesome stuff. Really, mate, as always, fucking really solid work. The quality of everyone's work today is crazy, 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 crazy. Right, let's crack. We've got Dan, Ryan, and Neil to do. Fressy, I've already done yours, dude. By the way, you came in as I was talking. I didn't want to interrupt myself mid-flow, but we've already listed yours, Fressy. I even said when I did it, I was like, oh, I should have waited for Fressy to come in. I think she even told me she was going to get in late, so I apologise for that. I did it to someone else last week. I've got to get better at the organisation of how I play these, haven't I? Yeah, go. You can see it on the stream, Fressy. You can even just jump back now if you want to and watch it. But killer record. Dan, you're here. Is this the Dan that's here? How many Dans do we know? Daniel Summit. Yeah, that's got to be him. Surely that's Daniel Summit. 5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Surely, dude. You're next. You're up. And same with everyone. Oh, look, he's on it. He's like straight in, giving me the info. Love that. Love to see it. Love to see it. Right, I'm going to hit play and I'll read that as I'm in. I've noticed I'm following everyone as I listen as well. I'd urge you to go find all the artists that we're listening to. Go give them a follow. Give people support. Go find each other's Instagrams. Drop each other's Instagrams in the comments. Shit like that. Like on the Discord. A good thing to do might be actually like when you upload a record, drop your Discord handle. Oh yeah, you could put your Discord handle if you've got one. Put your Instagram handle in there, your Spotify handle in there. Like let people know where they can go and find you and follow each other. Like it's an important part of the music industry nowadays. So the fact that we've all come here together, it makes loads of sense that we should all support each other, right? All it takes is a like on an Instagram post for it to feed the algorithm. Do you know what I mean? If we've got like 100 people watch this video and 100 people go like which is the odds on 100 people actually going and doing that is very low, because for some reason it's very hard to get people to like videos. But if we did it hypothetically, you know, it could be a load of likes on all of our videos. It helps each other out, doesn't it? Okay, awesome stuff. Let's have a listen. Really nice, dude. Yeah, that's techno at what, 125 BPM? That's funny. Neil sort of, what was Neil thinking? I reckon it's 125. Yeah. There you go. Imagine that you live in a world where you've done so much music production that you can spot BPMs as a grown adult. It's a weird skill to have. Yeah, I really like this, dude. I love slower techno like this. Like, you can hear it's influenced a lot of my music over the years as well. Like, some stuff I was releasing when I first came through, and I went off on a bit of a random tangent, which we won't go into on the live stream. Just like a mad time in my life. I started making really weird music, and it was all very influenced by like heavy, slower techno. Funny enough, using Tiger Stripes again. If Tiger Stripes' ears are burning during my live streams, it's because I'm always seem to be talking about him at the moment. But his older techno stuff, that was a bit faster, but that kind of raw, stripped down sort of, like, there's a certain vibe that he had. There's Dense and Pika stuff as well, like some of the stuff that they put out on their label as well over the years is very much like that kind of off the wall, left field sort of stuff. I just really like, man. It's just experimental. It's just like you play it. There's a time and a place for it, yeah. But when that's right, it's so right. Like, it's really, really cool. What sort of, is that right? Like, am I, the way I'm sort of talking about that, is that right, Dan? Is that the sort of vibe you're going for? Is that the sort of flavour? You've got artists as well. Like, there's the tag is 6 a.m. and Ibiza. That does pretty much sum that up, I would say. Because yeah, it feels like that sort of ilk, that kind of like off the wall, slower techno stuff. I've always really liked it. It's definitely influenced my stuff over the years. For me, right, there's one specific component in this record that I think could, and look, you could find, maybe you show me a reference track and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm wrong. Actually, they do stuff like, they just keep it in the whole time. But for me, right, fresh ears, first time ever hearing it, the acid sound you've got, with a delay on it, with a delay on it, I think that's in, like, too much is maybe the wrong way of framing what I'm trying to say. It's in maybe the wrong places. It pulls me away from the groove, which is interesting because you would think having that there would mean it would be more energy. It would be more like energy, more stuff. But actually, it kind of detracts from that rawness because it's floaty and a bit of delay on it and it's got a bit of panning on it. It takes me into this sort of hypnotic space, which is, there's a time and a place in this record for the hypnoticness, right? For sure. But I think there's certain pockets where you want to bring people back in to the groove and lock them back into it. And you actually did it at on the outro. Over here. Where did I hear? I heard a bit and I was like, oh, he's dropped it out. Here. Oh, maybe I literally just lost my mind and invented that I heard it like it in my own head, which is weird because that must have just happened. That sound is in the whole time, which there's an argument to be made is a part of the style. But I think if you dropped it out, right? If you drop that out here, right, and then let it bubble back up, you can maybe drop with it here, let it move around and do its thing, use it in here as like a component to sort of send people, like give the dance floor a direction, and then drop it out here as well. So you've just got that siren and the Q&A vocal. Because like the slower vibe you've got, that RP acid line is sort of speeding everything up a little bit, which is good, but it is, I think it's too constant in the record. That's the one thing where I'm like, oh, I'd love to hear that kind of just step back a little bit in certain places. Like here, so weird that I swear I heard it actually stop somewhere, and it's clearly doesn't. Here, I think would be a good place for it to stop as well, and then maybe it could come back on the outro, whatever, right? It doesn't really matter too much. But I think you need to give this record spots where that sound isn't there. You could literally say to me, dude, I'm listening to like 3 or 4 different reference tracks and they all have sounds like that are in the whole time. And I'd listen to it and go like, oh yeah, fair enough. But for me, that's what jumps out. That's what I would want, like to get, so then the dance floor kind of can get a bit more focused back into that groove you've got, because you've got such a good groove, and that like it's kind of like you can't not hear that. You can't lock into that groove because you just sort of end up in the sort of hypnotic state of that sound, which again might be the style you're going for. But if it was off and on a little bit more, it would give me a chance to get like back down into the groove, and then when it came back again, it would lift me back up into the like the floaty hypnotic sound, and back down into the groove again. I just think a couple of choice places for that to happen would give the record a bit more dimension and dynamic that would lock the dance floor in the right way at the right time. I think currently it kind of keeps me in this sort of like, again, to be fair, 6 a.m. and IB for floaty space. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that's my only advice on that, dude, is I think it could have some pockets of focus with the drums, because I think it would sound killer. I think getting it, like dropping on some of those bits just back to the groove, I think it would sound really fucking good, mate, if I'm honest. I think it would really just, yeah, get it down in. And again, to use like Denson Peaker's label as a sort of weird sort of way of like kind of at least like going, you know, like this kind of thing. That's the sort of stuff I hear on those sort of records. Yeah, just having this stuff, but having moments where you can get back to groove, to get back to the hit floaty stuff, to get back to groove, it really changes everything. Especially when you notice it as a DJ. If you played it on a dance floor, you had two different versions, and you played it to the same audience, one with all the floaty, one with off and on, you would notice people kind of lock in. You'd really feel it. Yeah, give it a try, mate. Really good work though, dude. Again, really high quality stuff, man. Like, you know, the actual vibe of it and the flow of it, it's really cool. Really great, honestly, great to hear like techno a bit slower as well, because obviously techno's gone quite fast these days, hasn't it? Just a tad too fast, if you ask me, but I am old, so, you know, there you go. Ryan, you've been waiting here, dude. I'm sure you're still flirting around. Fair play for waiting, or fair play for being here. I'm going to hit play. Let us know in the old comments, mate, on the old chat, what's going on, who you at, where you been, how long you been making music, what is this, what we doing, where we going, all right? Let me know.
You know what they say if it don't apply. What? Let it fly. What they say if it don't apply. What? Let it fly. What they say if it don't apply. What? Let it fly. Let it fly. Let it fly.
That's wicked, man. That's a really interesting record. You don't hear stuff like that much at the moment. What are you aiming this at, Ryan? Like, are we going minimal deep tech? Are we floating around? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, oh, where am I right now? Like, where do I go? Who am I right now with this record? I really rate this. It's very kindred spirits with like groove and stuff here, Ryan. We've got a similar kind of taste for sure. I really like the park, the loopy vocal. No, I like the loopy vocal. I was going to say the loopy vocal might actually be the only outlier that kind of makes me go like, what are you doing, loopy vocal? Because it feels a bit like Toolroom sample pack loopy vocal, where everything else feels much cooler than that. Everything else has got this like, just groove. It's like a soft kick drum, but the record's quite tough. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Quite like that. It's like, just for the right DJ, this is like really, really nice. But then like that's a bit hypey. I don't dislike it, I'll be honest. I think it sounds like, it's not really about it sounding wrong. But look, if we're really kind of, and that's why I wondered about like, what labels are we talking about? What sort of pocket of the scene are we talking about? Because, you know, you do get certain like, oh yeah, it's for this kind of label. And it's like, you go listen to their stuff and like, oh, they never use loopy vocals like this. Maybe that's what makes you stand out though. I don't know, you've got to find this like sweet spot with all this kind of stuff. But that jumps out to me. It's the one thing where I go like, yeah, you sound like you're from a touring record, but you're on this like more underground, cool, weird room 2 sort of thing, right? It's cool. I really like it. You know what? An idea that that jumped out to me, and this isn't a right or wrong thing, but it jumped out, and I was like, oh, I wonder about like in this build, right? We focus predominantly on getting away from all the groove. Like there's a snare, like quite a big energy, high energy snare with a big high energy riser, which I quite like because it's like a juxtaposition between the kind of like sleazy, lazy sort of like bounce of the groove. I wonder if you could do something, again, you have to do the work to know. So sorry, I'll just keep it simple, but I'm prepared to be quite wrong about specifically how it should be done. Maybe don't use a snare build, but probably still. Maybe do something with that bongo, because that's the thing that really stands out to me. When we drop again, that's a killer hook. That's great on this sort of stuff. It reminds me of like Format B's old stuff or something. I keep bring up Format B recently as well. It reminds me of their sort of old school vibe from like 20 years ago. I wonder if we could use that in the breakdown as it's like almost gets to the point where it's just that with a bit of reverb on it, and then it like twists and does something weird like something that's like locks in that like that as a hook. Like it sort of takes that hook and goes, right, what are you musically? Like, how can I make you do something that like gives the moment? Because for me at the moment, having like that higher energy loopy vocal, which feels slightly at odds with the energy, slightly, only slightly, and a breakdown. I like the fact you're getting away from the groove as a juxtaposition to what I'm saying. I do like the fact that you're actually just going, let's stop the groove and just go snare. I actually like that. But there is a part of me that feels like that's like really hypey. And actually, does this record need hypey, or does this need like quirky energy? Does this record need something that gives energy? It's gonna build, it will go, but it's done in a way that it's kind of just like left field, like everything else in the record. Like all the stuff that makes this record, everything in your song, mate, that makes me go, I really like that. is not because it sounds like other people. It's not because it's like, oh, that would be really good, like in my tour room set. It's nothing to do with any of that. I think you've got a really quirky, original flavour here. And I think it'd be really cool to see you kind of really facilitate that quirkiness you've got and bolster it up and kind of give it its moment to actually do something that makes DJs go like, oh, I can't wait to play that. That's going to fucking be really cool in my like boat party set I'm going to play later. Do you know what I mean? It's like that sort of quirky little like record you want to keep on, you know, on your USB stick as a little weapon for the right place, right time. It's that sort of record, isn't it? My favourite kind of records, those sort of records. And I just feel like the breakdown is just doing tech house and everything else has just got more style. The loopy vocal, the high energy one, tech house. The snare build and build up, tech house. They're not wrong. They actually do sound good. But my only way I can sort of help push you, I feel, is to sort of recognise, like, as just thinking almost like as a DJ, like, if this did actually something more quirky and more stylistic and more characteristic, if that's a word, to the rest of the record, I think it would just be that icing on the cake, mate. I think it would be that thing that would make other artists and other DJs just be like, oh, that's a fucking cool idea. You know, I just think that's all it, I think I would just elevate it. I think it would elevate it up a little bit. It's really cool. Really, really cool though, mate. I really love the grid. I love that perk. It's so funny how just like a simple perk loop can be such a hooky vibe. Like when it hits on that drop, it's just locked back into it. Really cool. Very kindred spirits we are, mate. That's a very me sort of record, that. I like it. Off the wall, bit left field, bit quirky, but just that's cool. I like the choice of having like a softer sort of kick and that low slung sort of energy. Really nice. Yeah, really, really cool. Neil, I've seen you about, mate. Neil. Where you at, Neil? You were here last week. Is this the same one? It's not the same one as last week, is it? No, it is. From the tour room event. Oh, I'm like 30 seconds ahead. Oh, wait. No, then you've got to wait for me. We can't escape this. Yeah, is this... I'll play it. I'll tell you what, I'll play it and we'll come back. Different record than last week. I can answer it myself. I like this, dude, and I like the fact there's a continuity between what you sent. Was it last week? Yeah, it was. No, week before, because last week was when we did the music production before the live stream, wasn't it? The week before. Yeah, you've got like continuity. There's an old school flavour. I really like the bass line. That sort of like higher, funky sort of pulse bass. I think it really suits your kick and your bounce, your bass line and everything. Really like the vocal on this one. I think. Remember on the last record that we were talking on, I was sort of saying there's a bit too much going on. There's like too many cooks in the kitchen here, and we kind of need to figure out like these guys just go in this bit, and those guys only go in that bit, and then we drop without them. And this has got this feels a little bit more put together. This feels a little bit more. Oh, cool. So I'm just reading the chat. Inspired by Ozzy Govan. Lauren Still, yeah, wicked. Yeah, do you know what, the only thing, and this is another, like, I'm not right or wrong here, this is a personal taste. I find the floaty acid sound, sort of acid, you know what I mean by that, that takes away from the bounce for me a little bit. There's probably the right time and place for it, but not on the drop. Let me go back and listen. Yeah, it's where you're accenting the little bass roll, and then it goes. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think that quite works. I think it feels too floaty and soft. Although I know a lot of people are doing bit of floatier sounds on these harder sounds at the moment. Definitely hearing a bit of that on records at the moment. It's just the right time and the right place for that sound. I thought it in the first half. In the first half, I was like, that's the only sound I don't like right now is that floaty one. Like I don't know if I wanted that. And then for it to be on the drop as well, I was sure. When I heard it then, I was like, yeah, that's pulling me away from the energy. Because when it dropped, I was like, I just straight into that bass line and the vocal going on. I was like, oh, that's a bounce. Then it does all this, then it does a floaty thing. I'm like, that pulls me out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, I just don't need it. It's one of those. I'm like, oh, what should I change the sound? I'm like, maybe just try muting it, honestly. And like, then you maybe, I think records like this as well is like, don't have as much like floatiness within the groove space, but after 8 bars, after 16 bars, give me like a cool edit that's got something that's sort of a bit more locked, like something. I mean, we're sampling a lot of 90s hip hop, 90s rave, early 2000s rave, which was all sampling 90s hip hop. Like, bam, 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 all that kind of like stuff on like little edits. That's where that kind of sort of like that moment can pop. Then you just get back down to the groove. It's all just about rocking to a groove a lot of time with a good loopy vocal. Give me a great edit. Now bring the ride in. That's, I think, to keep it on that straighter, harder groove. The sort of squelchy, it's a soft sound as well, like maybe if it was an accent to the bass line, like it was a harder sound. Yeah, it sound good in a breakdown, and maybe you have it right. Let's say right, the vocal is in and doing its thing, going on, going on, and then you go, cool edit, and then the vocal's gone. Get rid of the vocal, and then that little RP sort of thing comes in. So there's a bit of like a kind of interplay between, because the vocal, the sound of his voice and everything, and what the bass line's doing is all trying to be quite tough and hard and loopy. And then that guy's like, hey guys, I'm just chilling out over here. And he's a bit at odds with the energy of everyone else. He might not be completely wrong for the song. I think it's to do with where it's being used and where it's not, which was a bit like what we were saying about before. But this is closer. This is more like, I mean, we could have just solved it, to be perfectly honest. It's maybe just thinking like little rules, like when the loopy rave vocals in, like hip hop vocals in, don't have the floaty one. When the vocal stops, bring the floaty one in. You just might find maybe a slightly harder sound, like something a bit more in keeping with the ravey sort of sound, hip hoppy sort of sound. Might be a good thing to at least explore. But I do wonder if it was just put in the right place, maybe I wouldn't have even brought it up. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I wouldn't have even brought that up if it was just in the right place. Awesome stuff though, Neil. Really good work, mate. And great to hear like, yeah, consistency in your sound and the vibe you're doing. That's like really cool to hear and see. Like I always say that to everyone, like that's one of the hardest things to get right in music, is making sure you're consistent with what you are doing and what sound you're putting out there. And the audience needs to know who you are. Otherwise they can just go anywhere else. There's a billion records released every single day these days, and half of them are AI generated. So if you don't have a consistent sound, you're never gonna be noticed anymore. Awesome stuff there, guys. This was really good fun today. Awesome stuff. Really, really good fun. Yeah, really well done, Neil. It's wicked, mate. It's actually really, really cool. Let's get rid of these drawings and stuff. We can close out. So yeah, that's it, innit? Yeah, we've done it. We completed it, mate. We've done quite well there, I believe. I feel we've done quite well. So this is, what are we on? Yeah, 3 o'clock, like we've done well there. That's wicked. So we started off with a little bit of work with one of my strategy students. If you want to know a little bit about that course, actually, you can, there's a link in the description below. You can go check it out if you're interested at all. There's fucking loads of information on that landing page. Have a little read. You guys all know me, so if you want to chat to me about it, you want to know a little bit more about what the heck is actually going on with all that, just drop me a DM on Instagram or wherever you know me from, and I'll be more than happy to jump on a call with you or something. But outside of the old stand-up sales stuff that we do these days, right? It was a pleasure having you all with me today. This was really, really good fun. Like I'm looking forward to doing these every single week. I want to get a bit more music production in. I want to try and like look at the times as well. Like I want to try and find a way in my life that I can put these in the evening so more people can attend, because Friday afternoon is not that accessible to most people. Do you know what I mean? To be real, it's not like the vibiest of time to do a live stream. But I just wanted to get started you got to start sometimes. We've got to get cooking. You just got to hit go. Even if only one person comes on, who cares? You've got to get started on this stuff and figure it out. So I appreciate all of you for being here. I appreciate everyone who's going to watch this afterwards. It makes a massive difference to everything that I'm doing. Just like, subscribe, drop a comment. Just feed the algorithm for me. It massively helps me, and it helps us grow. It helps more people find us. It makes this a vibier experience for all of us, and it just makes it more fun for all of us. All right. So yeah, I massively appreciate a like and subscribe on the channel as always, and I do look forward to catching all of you hopefully next week. Stay on comms. I'll always be on Instagram, letting everyone know when we're going to do it, and I look forward to seeing you all then. All right. Nice one, guys. Bye bye.